Hey Cornerstone, you were probably thinking, Pete, is that your Christmas tree behind you? And I would say, yes, that is absolutely my Christmas tree. It's 2020, and so why not? Everything else is a little off. But seriously, it's my Christmas tree, and yes, I did set it up. We've got a rule where we don't set up our Christmas tree, our Christmas decorations, until after Thanksgiving. You probably have that same rule, and you'll notice there aren't any ornaments on the tree yet. But let me tell you why I did this. I did it as an act of gratitude. Do you know what an act of gratitude is? It's something that you do in response to who God is and what He's done. And as I've been thinking about Christmas and the Advent season, as we've been planning as a church for that, I've been thinking about who God is, that He is a God that is with us. We need to be reminded of that this year, right? God is with you. He's with me. He's with us. That's who He is. But not only that, what God has done is He became one of us. He stepped into our world. He stepped into the mess that we have made in order to rescue us. That's what redemption is all about. That's the good news, the gospel. And so I set up the Christmas tree as just a little way to remind myself, to remind us that God is with us. God has us. God's in control. He is Emmanuel. And I did it as a way to respond with a grateful heart, because I struggle with that. Perhaps you do too. Did you realize that it's thanklessness, ingratitude, and ungrateful heart that is actually the source of so much of our foolishness? It's actually the source of our sinfulness. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, tells us about the plight of humanity. And as he's telling us this is what he says. This is Romans 1, beginning at verse 18. For the wrath of God, that's God's settled, fair, righteous anger, is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For His invisible attributes, namely His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world, in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. In other words, when you look to the heavens, when you look to the earth, when you look at creation, all of it's screaming that somebody made it, that there is a creator. It's the one we were made for. And Paul continues, and he says this, for although they, all of us, humanity, knew God, they did not honor Him as God. And listen to this, or give thanks to Him. But they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Paul goes on to say that we've exchanged the truth for a lie, that we've worshiped created things rather than the one who is our Creator. And so as we read this, it's not as if God is mad at us because we've got bad manners. Like as a parent, when your kids don't say thank you, you get mad. That's not what this is about. No, it has to do with something else. It's actually us not acknowledging the very foundation of reality. When we're ungrateful, we're not acknowledging the foundation of reality. In fact, one commentator puts it this way. He says, Paul is saying that we are plagiarists. We take what God has made and pass it off as our own. We don't acknowledge our dependence on our Creator, but claim to be independent. How often do we do this? How often do we claim that we are in control, that we are independent, that we don't need God? In fact, it's the source of our grumbling. It's the source of our complaining, of our criticism, that we've got it all under control. But this year is showing us something, isn't it? It's showing us that no, we actually aren't as independent as we thought, that we're actually not in control, but we are absolutely and utterly dependent upon God. That God is the one who is the giver of all good things. God is the one who fills our lungs with breath, with air. God is the one that puts a roof over our heads. God is the one that puts food on our table. And God's the one who surrounds us with the relationships that are all around us, the people that God has put in our lives. And all of these things point us to who He is. It points us to what He's done. And it should, when we pause long enough, fill us with gratitude. It should move us to a place where we don't acknowledge it. We're not just constantly grumbling and complaining and critiquing, but rather we're filled with gratitude for what God has done, who He is. And so let me just challenge us. Let's have an act of gratitude. Let's do an act of gratitude this week. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's acknowledging who God is, that He has given you, the people that are in your lives, And then the act of gratitude is simply this. It's write a note, send a text message, make a phone call, and just say, I'm grateful for you. Or maybe it's acknowledging to God, thank you for the job that you've given to me. And it's going into the office with a joyful heart because of what God has done, that He's given that to you. Or maybe it's acknowledging your family, going, Lord, thank you for my family. And then it's telling them that you love them. Don't let the day pass without you looking them in the eye and telling them. Or maybe it's you going, God, you are a God who is with us. You are Emmanuel. And then set up your Christmas tree and use that as a way to direct your heart in worship to the one who is our creator, the one who is our sustainer, and the one who is holding us. And so let us go into the rest of this week with grateful hearts. We have so much to be grateful for. And let us give thanks to the one who is our creator, the one who is our redeemer. And let us give praise to Him.